yeah, not a great like first couple of months for Senshi. Not like, oh my god, thank God Loki's here again.
Do you think he is slightly overrated in ring?
I think he's not a sure thing.
Like a lot of other guys were.
Yeah, like if you put Bryan Danielson in there or Samoa Joe in there, he is a sure thing. And there's oftentimes you get Senshi or Loki, fucking. There's oftentimes you get Loki and you don't know what Loki you're going to get. But if you get Loki, it's the fucking best thing in the world.
Also, like, maybe sneakily a tag guy.
Might be, because like his thing is like big explosive offense, so that kind of works better in a tag setting where he doesn't have to do like the full psychology of the match. He can work that into like the psychology of tag psychology, which I think works a little better.
But because like even in like the New Japan, in the Raintakers stuff I've been watching, Raintakers go buy Patreon, give me money. Even in then, like I feel like he wasn't delivering to the level of a Devitt or an Ibushi. Again, maybe unfair. They are like a decade younger than him or whatever.
Yeah, and he is an aura guy. So if he's not booked in a way that makes him like project that aura, it takes something away from him.
He's an interesting case.
That on so many levels, which is what makes him a great wrestler, I think.
Or at least like an interesting note, like in 20 years when a lot of people have forgotten about him, and it's like, let's reanalyze this key career, you know?
Because that is the thing. He will be forgotten. And it's kind of sad to say, like he will be fundamentally forgotten.
I mean, like we've been having this conversation lately about Hansen.
Yeah, like if fucking Stan Hansen isn't remembered by like the average young wrestling fan because there's nowhere that will like evangelize. That's what you need. You need like an institution like WWE or now AEW or even like a New Japan to like evangelize the history of you, and no one's going to do that for Loki.
Yeah. And like I guess your best bet there is like an AEW, which does acknowledge outside promotions and history,
and obviously owns the Ring of Honor library.
Owns the ROH library, but it's like, again, they can't do it for fucking everyone.
And they're going to do it for the people like Samoa Joe or Bryan Danielson that they employ.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like Eddie Guerrero is an all-time great, but the reason like so many people say Eddie Guerrero is their favorite wrestler is because we have now had nearly 20 years since he died of like WWE constantly evangelize Eddie Guerrero. You know, they're constantly talking about how good Eddie was. They show highlights of how like DVDs. It's like everyone talks about Eddie. So that's the reason that like permeates into fan culture. That because Eddie has been, propped up is the wrong word to use, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, he has been he's been used as like a token idea of like an all-time great.
Yeah, and that's been reinforced and pushed over and over again to the extent that every WWE Performance Center wrestler now says their favorite wrestler is Eddie Guerrero, and that's where that comes from.
I wonder if part of that like idea will die with the fact that we don't have DVD releases anymore.
That's because it's really weird to me that like we have more wrestling easily accessible than ever before, and somehow less of it is getting through. You can find like 50 of the best Stan Hansen matches right now on YouTube or Dailymotion for free. You can type Stan Hansen match into YouTube and you will get 10 great Stan Hansen matches. But nobody's doing that.
I have one on my second monitor right now.
It's my big frustration with, I think, modern wrestling criticism and modern wrestling coverage is we spend so much time, I know, but we spend so much time giving out about like whatever the talking point of the week is that we spend far less time than we used to diving into historical stuff and trying to actually dig this stuff up.
People don't analyze anything anymore. And people don't care about history, and like people who like have become voices on
wrestling.
This topic. Yeah, I was trying to avoid it. People who have become voices in wrestling journalism and wrestling historians are like they're not actual like historians. Like they know nothing. Like out of all like the biggest voices in pro wrestling right now, and I don't mean to be like gatekeeping guy or whatever, but it's like
gatekeep is good.
But like but like they don't know a Stan Hansen match, you know? It's like, and that's insane because like that's what you're. It's almost like a responsibility to be like at least somewhat knowledgeable of the history of pro wrestling, and it's even more egregious when you get people talking about specific companies and they don't know the history of the company. Like you'll get modern reviewers of promotions of companies that have been around for 20 years and they haven't even seen shit. So like they're just talking about it from the perspective of like what they've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's insane. I mean, everyone has to start somewhere, but it's when you're already put on like a pedestal with a following, like it's like almost the duty or a responsibility to at least be somewhat knowledgeable, because otherwise it's like you're screaming into nothing about nothing with no backup or context. we could have just jumped into a TNA review podcast, you know, like that would have been easy. But it's like this is what more like. I don't mean to be like more people should be like us, but like retrospectives should be a bigger thing.
There should be one. There should be multiple for every company, frankly.
There's not even like WWE ones.
Well, there is, but we just do the Attitude Era over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
that's the thing. They do WCW versus WWE.
That's the only thing we do retrospectives on. Like I know there's some that like dive into like Ruthless Aggression era, and I understand why no one wants to dive into like 2010 WWE. We did it for the Patreon show. It was unbearable to just do like 5 months of it. But like that's what we need more of. We need more of people diving. Like the Bryan Danielson Shield stuff is 10 years old now. Like that's I was thinking like when is the right time you can start doing AEW history stuff, and I was like we're coming up on 5 years since they launched Dynamite, so like when do we start talking about that stuff in like a historical context? I don't know, but like as I said, all we ever do is Monday Night War. It's all we ever do.
And like I understand that everyone's gonna have blind spots. This is a gigantic industry that has been around for a long ass time, but it's like you gotta at least own it if you don't know it.
Yeah, that's my big thing. My big thing is the confidence with which they make broad declarations that is not backed up by knowledge.
Oh, this is the best angle ever. This is the hottest storyline ever. This is the biggest draw ever. And you're like, shut up. It's not even the biggest draw or the best storyline, like whatever, of the company you're talking about.
And it's like my big frustration when I wrote about that wrestling Twitter thing I wrote like 4 months ago was that the people who do know this stuff, the people who do know better, keep getting dragged into the mud with these other people. We keep letting those people define how we talk about this stuff. Like those brainless people who have only seen 2 years of wrestling, who is like, this match is the best that has ever existed. And then next week they're like, this match is the best that has ever. And fair, like Dave Meltzer does that too, I guess. Dave Meltzer has this new match of the year of the week every week. But
match of the life.
Yeah, every match is the new best match of all time to Dave, which I guess is a fun way to exist when you're in your 60s. Usually people go the other way, but anyway.
Yeah, but like, and also I don't think that like if you are someone new that like it doesn't disqualify you from talking about wrestling either. Like that's really fun to watch someone who hasn't seen anything see things for the first time,
and they can bring a new perspective on it. Like they can have a new take, seeing old stuff with modern eyes, being like, this is different in a good way or bad way from the stuff we watch right now.
But again, acknowledge that like well, that's what they'll be talking about, but like acknowledge that there is the gaps there. That like, and like, yeah, go out and explore it. It's fun. Like that's what I did from like 15 to now. You know, it's like I if there was things I didn't know about, like that was the fun thing. It was like finding as much things from a time period that you can, and digging in and finding new favorites, finding people that like you never would have seen otherwise. You're like, wow, this is like someone that I love now and think is a really like great talent, and now you unlock things like that, you know?
Especially for people for whom their entire career is done. Like you can see the entire span of Terry Funk or Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair or Misawa or Curryman or anybody, you know? If you want silly, if you want fun, if you want main event, if you want undercard, if you want wrestling, if you want storytelling, it is all there if you're curious.
But like, I mean, I get that part of it probably is that like when there's 20 hours of mainstream American television pro wrestling to watch a week, it probably does make it difficult. But like, I don't know, make some time. Doesn't have to be a lot, just make some time. Find some things that like you wouldn't see otherwise.
And you do need help. That's what like that, again, to go back to my frustration with a lot of people who should know better aren't helping people. Like you should have, here's how you approach Stan Hansen's career. You know, here's how you should like dive in. Here's where you can start from. Here are our 10 matches to start with and expand from. And we should be talking about that all the time for wrestlers. We only ever do it when they die. We wait for somebody to die, and then we're like, oh well, it wasn't like Terry Funk really great. Here's how you should watch Terry Funk. No, we should be doing that all the time for every wrestler. Like not just us going through TNA being like, well, we have our spreadsheet now, like that you can go and you can see, you can 2 points of view about what the best matches from 2002 to 2006 are. We have that little curation thing there for patrons if you want it. Like that should be there for everybody, for AJ, for Misawa, for Stan Hansen, for Hulk Hogan. Like we should be curating that and celebrating it and talking about it, as opposed to what's the dopey wrestling Twitter talking point of the week. Do we need to send tweets about the WWE thing about, oh, you know, AEW are overpaying for talent. Do we need to even talk about that? No, we don't. It's a WWE PR bullshit thing. Nobody needs to say a word about it. It doesn't inform anybody. It doesn't make conversation better. It's reactionary bullshit. Let's celebrate pro wrestling.
Just, I don't know. It's fun to explore. And even if you think it's not going to be fun and there's not something there for you, there's always going to be something there for you.